Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah, and I don't know how that's happened, whether that's just happened as from a marketing perspective, because I don't know if you remember when we talked about The Vampire, when we had that book chat a
Yes.
few months ago, the marketing people who publish books like Romeo and Juliet and Wuthering Heights and a few others like that, like the romantic classics,
Yes.
came up with a series of covers that look a lot like Twilight.
And they are, like, particularly Wuthering Heights and books, they are very gothic and dark.
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
really, you know, your sweet sort. I mean, Wuthering Heights is a very dark gothic novel. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
So they picked a few of these, like, really, really popular ones, and they gave them new jackets, made them look really Twilighty.
Wow.
And
marketing.
it must have been marketing.
Yeah.
And it's just dragged a whole lot of new people to go back to investigate these titles. And, you know, I had a girl in the shop today, she must have been about 16, who said, I'm buying the 50 books you've got to read before you die bookmark, because I've set myself a personal challenge to read every one.
To read them. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So,
and I think sometimes, like just the book you mentioned, Wuthering Heights, like because that's a book that's written, 1880 or even earlier, I think, and people might think, oh, you know, it's a very romantic book, but it's actually got some very dark and themes in it. And I think sometimes when people go back, like a young person would think, oh, that's just going to be a very romantic sort of a book.
Yeah.
And when they go back and read it, because they've marketed it to do with something like Twilight.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not quite what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, actually, I investigate 1847. It was written.
1847. Wow. Yeah.
And something I didn't know was that it was Emily Bronte's one and only book.
Yes,
I didn't know that.
And the amazing thing about the Bronte sisters, which I've always found amazing, they lived incredibly sheltered lives. None of them had, I think one sister did, but Emily didn't have any relationships. And the actual passion in that novel, do you know what I mean? It's amazing to think this was a girl that never had a relationship and had a very sheltered life. And the actual love and passion in that book is
She actually
amazing.
wrote it originally under the pseudonym. She had a pseudonym. She wrote it under Alice Bell.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and the core themes were horror and romance, and that's what when you say a novel is gothic, that's basically what you're saying, is that it incorporates horror and romance. So yeah,
and that has some very dark aspects to the novel. Even I mean, I've seen a few versions of that in film, which don't quite capture the darkness of the book, I don't think. But
yeah. Well, originally when it was published, the controversy surrounding it was to do with the fact that it was depicting like mental and physical cruelty.
And it was, yes.
And that was part of, you know, the debate about, should be banned and all those sorts of things.
And probably they were things that were not talked about or discussed in those days. It was like, no, those things don't happen, and if they do, you keep them to yourself.
Yeah.
So it was something that just wouldn't have been out in the general parlour.
Yeah.
Because in those days, you know, the majority of people that would have been readers of novels would have been your middle and upper class. And they would have been things that, they're not discussed.
Yeah.
And to put
it's
them
not
in
socially appropriate.
It's not socially appropriate to discuss those things. That's right. That's right. Well, we'll have another song, and then we'll come back and start going through the
sounds
novels.
good.
You're listening to 88.9 Win FM, Book Chat with Denise and Jackie. You're listening to 88.9 Win FM, and this is Denise on Creative Corner with Jackie and Book Chat. And we're now going to talk about the 50 books you should read before you die.
Yeah.
Let's go through the list, Jackie.
Yeah, I just picked a few, and I just thought we'd have a look at what these books are about.
Yeah.
You're getting very animated about this topic this month, aren't you? It must be because you've been on holidays.
Must be. Very interesting.
So I thought one of the books on the bookmark is Memoirs of a Geisha. Now, I love this book.
And it's a fairly modern book.
Yeah, it is, because it's 1997. So, I don't know, does it qualify? I mean, the bookmark is not claiming that it's the 50 classic books you should read.
Yes.
So, I just thought it was an interesting one to have there, and I didn't personally enjoy it.
And why do you think it fitted the criteria for the top 50?
I think they were after variety. I mean, there's loads of lists out there. I did a search on the internet, and I said, basically asked Google to give me a taste for book lists.
Yes.
And there's just like loads and loads and
Did
loads.
they vary?
And they're all sourced. Yes, they're all sourced from different things, from different areas. So
did you find though that there were common books in all of those?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely lots of common books, like, Catcher in the Rye and Moby Dick and Ulysses, and like the true core classics, I call. Yeah. But they're all sourced from different places. Some ask their readers to vote, some are voted by academics.
Well, and they'd be looking at slightly different perspectives. Yeah.
So and I tried to find out where this bookmark sourced its list from, but I couldn't find a source for it.
And who puts out the bookmark, do you know?
No, I don't know, because the supplier that gives it to us is not, it's not the person. Anyway, so I liked Memories of a Geisha, so I thought I'd look into that one. It's actually a novel about a geisha, and the character in it's called Nita, and she retired in the 70s, and she...
Is this a true story?
No, it's a made-up story. It is based loosely around an interview that... Arthur Golden, who's the author, he interviewed a geisha, and then out of that...
Okay, this evolved.
And so the format of the book is like a flashback format.
Okay.
So, it's like the geisha, she's sitting in a room in New York in her 70s, and she's going... and she's being interviewed in the actual book. And as she's being interviewed, then she revisits different times in her life.
Yes. I haven't actually read the book, but I did see the film. But anyway, one of the reasons I love the book is because I love the cover. I'm a jacket addict. You're a marketer's dream.
I am. I'm at the point even where I'm starting to publish our favourite covers on our Facebook page.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't know, I have to. I do judge a book by its cover. Isn't that awful?
Oh, but I think a lot of people do. That's the whole reason that the marketing people put so much effort into that. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I digress here, but I'm actually doing a course, and one of the things we're doing is design and publication, and that is a huge aspect of book is the cover, and the author has absolutely no input into it whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. Well, this one, I just love it, and I've got it on the shelf in the shop, and every time I look at it, I go, oh, that's just such a cool cover. And the funny thing is, I was actually interviewing my staff, and I was saying, okay, I want you to tell me your most favourite covers ever, so we can put some up on the Facebook page, and it's really quite hard. So the thing is, there's not that many that stick in your head, so that when you do see them, the ones you really like, they're very significant.
Yes.
So it is very important to get it right.
Oh, it is, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, you go into a bookshop, there are so many books.
Yeah, you've got to cut through. Yeah,
and not every book gets the publicity of a Twilight or something. So they've got to have something that people go, oh, and look at that cover, and hopefully open the book and then
read the back.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, so the book's written in the flashback mode. Yeah. The funny thing about, I tried to find some quirky things about these books, like what happened around the books or around the time it was published or whatever, but the geisha who he had interviewed as the source of the book actually sued after he published it,
really?
Because the geishas are bound to a code of silence.
Oh.
Yeah. So apparently they had agreed that, that
this was just between them.
Yeah, it was sort of not on the record.
Yes.
And his argument was, well, it's not about you, it's about this character that I've...
that's that fine line.
Yeah.
And possibly he based a lot of the character on what she had told him.
Yeah, exactly. So they ended up settling out of court. But then she actually came out and wrote her own autobiography.
She probably saw how much money he made and thought, I'm going to get on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny, really.
Yeah. So she ended up making, I don't know how well her book went as a result. But
and when does that book come on the list?
That was towards the bottom.
Okay.
So I think it was probably like 48,
Yes.
something like that.
Yep. Okay.